Commission to order. Please remember that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded. I'm John Anfinson. I'm the Parkway Minnesota Commission's Vice Chair and Metro Region Commissioner. And so welcome. And I'm going to ask everyone to go around and just say who they are, introduce themselves, and I'm going to go with what I have on my screen. So Amanda, you're up first.
I'm sorry, John, could you just repeat that one more time?
Just a quick introduction of who you are, what your role is here.
Perfect. Amanda Dernberger, technical committee member and part of the Minnesota DNR. Thank you.
Thanks. Peter.
Peter McDonough, Senior Landscape Architect with Environmental Planning and Design Unit with MnDOT, and I am one of the technical advisors. Thank you.
Thanks. Carol.
Hello, Carol Zoff, also with MnDOT Environmental Services, and I am also a technical advisor.
Carl.
Hi, Carl Samp, Brainerd. I'm the Brainerd Elk River elected representative.
Mr. Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul Huguenin, and I represent the Minnesota Department of Agriculture.
Grant.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Grant Wilson. I represent the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources.
And Senator Housley. Thank you for joining us.
Those are voting members.
Thank you, Senator Housley from the lake up in Walker, Minnesota.
You got a lake attire on.
Yes, I do.
Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Wilcox. I am Senior Landscape Architect at MnDOT, and I'm also the State Scenic Byway Coordinator.
Kate.
Hi, everyone. Kate Carlson, Executive Director at Visit Winona and Commissioner from the Hastings to Iowa border.
And Lisa.
Good afternoon. Lisa Havelka, representing tourism from the State Office of Tourism, Explore Minnesota.
Thanks. And I'm going to get our LCC support crew here that makes everything.
Marnie just joined too.
What?
Marnie just joined.
Oh, Marty. I missed that.
She just
She
joined.
just came in.
Okay, you get to introduce yourself, Marty.
She's a vote.
Well, hello, and I apologize for being late, and I was going to be over at the Capitol room, but is anybody even? Yeah. Oh, there's people. Hi. Anyway, sorry. I'm Marnie Karnowski, and I'm with MnDOT, and thanks for dealing with me. I'm a little disheveled, but calming down. Good to see everybody.
Okay, Diane.
Sure. Just say it. I'm Diane Henry Wagenstein. I'm with the Legislative Coordinating Commission, and we're staff to the commission then too.
All right, and Andrew.
I'm also with the Legislative Coordinating Commission. I'm Andrew George, working with Chris and Diane to help run this.
And Megan.
Megan Volke, LCC, Commission Administrative Assistant.
And we have someone at the far end who I haven't actually been introduced formally to.
Marco.
Sure. I don't know if they can see me.
Yeah.
I'm DeMarco Walton, Commission Administrative Assistant, helping with IT work here.
Thanks for the IT work. We need that help.
We can get
All the help we can get. Thanks. Okay, Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you to do a roll call.
I think we have it based on what you just did.
You guys.
Oh, and David.
David. Oh, I'm sorry. We got it in person. Yeah, sorry. David. Usually the other way, I forget.
David Kelleher, appointee from the Minnesota Historical Society.
And Ann Lewis. Hello, everybody. I'm the Commissioner at Large.
Thank you.
And you have a quorum.
And we have a quorum. Awesome. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris and Ann for a budget report.
Do you want to do the minutes?
I'll get the minutes first. I went too fast. So I need a motion to approve the minutes in the agenda. It's on pages 2 to 5 of your packet. Can I get a motion?
Housley will make the motion.
Thank you, Senator Housley. A second.
Carl, a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now I can turn it over to Chris and Ann.
Would you like to start, Ann? Would you like me to?
Well, I will thank you for that opportunity, but I think I'm going to pass on it because I myself had a big kind of a big question. And some of the rest of you may have it too. So I'll kind of lead with that question and then leave Chris in charge of explaining all the rest of it. It has to do with the payment for our brochures or for our maps, which looks on paper to be a cost overrun, but I am confident it is not. And I'm confident that Chris has the explanation for how it works.
Thank you. I will explain that. Yeah, I think I put that in some notes to you and that I didn't reflect here, but you have two budget reports in the packet, one on page 6, one on page 7. The one on page 6 is your near year-end report for fiscal year 2025, which ended on June 30th. So there will likely be one more report coming in from LCC after they finish the final hard close, which they're in the middle of as we speak. pretty
Yeah, but
much.
tomorrow's the hard close.
There you go. Tomorrow's the hard close. So there will be one more report coming in. I'm not expecting any more bills. There aren't any more in the pipeline. So what you see is likely close to final. And you came in at year end at about 94% of your budget spent. And yes, the general material printing and supplies line is well over what was placed there at the beginning of the year. That full cost of just under $14,000 was for your Great River Road map printing and shipping project. So there were edits made to the map, 29,000 printed and shipped to 41 locations. And we just didn't adjust the budget going through the year. That was a planned expense after less than anticipated was spent on the national meeting hosting last fall, quarterly meetings. So you see several of the line items well under spending.
Yeah.
And that's why the maps could be printed. And that's something that you've done over recent years. The maps are printed if funding remains. And that might be something the executive committee and others would like to think about going forward. Do you want to put that in as a front end item rather than just if there's money left? But that's why it looks the way it does. We didn't make that adjustment, but knew the money was there from other things, and that was discussed along the way. So it turned out to be a nice opportunity that you were able to have those maps, plus the annual meeting that you hosted, et cetera.
Yeah.
If that helps, Ann. Yeah.
Thank you.
And so that is your near final report for the fiscal year that you just closed. Page 7 looks a little sad at this point because you really haven't had any spending yet. This is just your projected budget for fiscal year. It should say 26 at the top.
Does. Oh, I see.
In the header.
It does in the column.
Yeah, it does in the column, but not in the header. That's a oopsie on my part. This is your fiscal year 26 activity budget setup. And so just very recently, some of the spending came in, so we don't have reports on that yet, but you can see where your funding is placed. And again, this isn't what the object code reports from LCC look like. This is arranged by your kind of expenditure category. So you can see what you spend on quarterly meetings or regional meetings or national meetings. And so obviously much of your funding goes toward your staffing services, national office dues, also national meetings. And so again, that national meeting line item will move. You always budget for a certain number of people to attend. If that does not happen, then you will have some funding remaining for other things. So that would be my report. Ann, if you'd like to comment.
No, thank you. In case anybody else does this, I will just say, when it says 7/17/25, I'm thinking, well, our budget year ended in June. Where does this actually fit and where does this overage? And it's something to keep in your mind that we have this final year budget that actually comes in later.
Yeah, the bills can come in after June, a little bit after June 30th, as long as the goods or services were provided or purchased before June 30th. It's a little wiggle room, and then LCC is working on closing everything out for that fiscal year, as they awesomely do for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I assume we don't have to take a vote on this. There's no action. It's just a report. So, welcome, Sally Finday.
Well, hello. I'm so pleased to be here.
It's great to have you in person. I hope traffic was okay.
Zoom just never works with me because when I'm at my office, I always get interrupted and work comes first, so.
So thank you for driving all the way down here.
I actually found a place to park. I'm all good.
Great.
I saw you coming in. I was just driving by and I thought, oh, I should ask her. I'm like, no, just go around the block. You'll find it. I parked on the street.
Thanks, Ellie. So Diane and Andrew, I'm going to turn it over to you for regional commissioner elections.
Okay.
Would you like me to start quick, Diane?
Sure.
I can.
I'm sorry, I've been so
Surprise.
busy with the fiscal year close that
Absolutely.
I admittedly have been neglecting my emails of late, so.
All
yeah, I
good.
didn't
So,
look at the agenda, sorry.
regional meetings are coming up this fall under the new statute change that resulted in regional commissioner terms now being 4 years. And then a bit of a process change where the regional committees will recommend a candidate or candidates to the full commission, and the full commission then will appoint those candidates and be the appointing authority. So the executive committee discussed this a bit in July, and whether there should be a process or a policy that you all act on for how that will go in the future. And so that would be where we would turn it over to Diane and Andrew if there's something ready for you to consider now, or that might still be coming. And it may or may not be in place quite before this first time that you go through the process. 3 regional meetings and elections are due this fall. It would be Sally's region from Headwaters to Northwoods, so Lake Itasca to Grand Rapids, also Grand Rapids to Brainerd, and Brainerd to Elk River. Those most likely will be virtual meetings that will happen before the end of October, we're thinking. And that, I mean, hybrid we know is ideal, but in terms of right now having staffing changes and things happening and trying to get the most people there, it's likely they'd be virtual. And so I think, and I won't put you on the spot right this second, but I've heard general indications from our existing commissioners, Sally, Carl, and Megan, that they might be running again. We're not holding you to that, but we would certainly welcome that. So I'll be working with all of you on the invitation lists and the structure for the meetings coming up, and then LCC as that process gets worked out.
I could speak a little bit more on top of that then too, as Chris kindly went through all the process. We're just kind of documenting the process a little bit with the staff transitions, kind of like looking at that. So it's nothing that new to it. It's more definitions to the process. And also, if you remember, there was a change in the statute of the other couple years ago where it was staggered on the elections, on the commissioner elections. So that's staggered. So it's nice that you don't have everybody new. You have some longevity between the two. And then it was also talking about how the process, if there was, how the appointment process would be. So the Citizens Committee makes a recommendation to the commission, and then the commission makes the appointment on it. So it's just a little bit more clear definitions to it. It's pointed to that in law, but it's just a documentation of that process then too. And a point with the virtual meetings, there was a little bit of change to the, this commission's under the public meeting, virtual meeting process, that's under chapter 13, that there was some clearer definition of when we talk about one of the voting members needing to be in the meeting room, that in a public accessible regular meeting room or a regular business, that it could be somebody who's on the Capitol campus that's in their office. That could be. So if it's Chair Housley, it could be in her office, would satisfy that. Because normally we've had done where it's primarily hybrid, where we had somebody very kindly come to the LCC office, which is a publicly accessible area, but that we had them come and be the person in person on it. That's kind of changed a little bit with the legal interpretation out there, which it's kind of nice. It makes the virtual meetings going to be a little bit easier perhaps then too.
And so that would apply for commission meetings in the future, executive committee meetings, and that definition, I understand, would include the transportation building, ag building, anything here. So if we have members participating in their offices here, that covers it. And yes, again, we wouldn't have to ask any of you to drive in separately to staff that meeting room, so to speak.
Correct.
So that's very new since the executive committee meeting.
Yeah. So we did talk about the executive committee about the process. We wanted to clean it up a little bit, make it a little bit more simplistic, not simplistic, more of the basics of it instead of getting into the weeds, which my original draft was in the weeds. Just haven't done that yet. So I'll get to that some very soon. Thanks, guys.
And I will also say, Sally, a list will be coming your way to look at. Also, Carl and Meg. We maintain those lists in constant contact, and now it's been a while since we've done these regional meetings. So I export those lists out. This is really in the weeds, but export them out, go through them all, fix what I can by looking at who's there, not there, who have we worked with, but then I'll be asking you for help to make sure we've got the cleanest list possible before we do a mass email, so we don't have bounces all over the place and miss people. So we're working on all that in the background, and you'll hear more from us.
Good.
And that was really my question, is that with this ruling on virtual meetings and doing this way, we have to be more diligent about maintaining lists and also making sure that that we send our notice of these openings to a wide swath of people in each of those regions. So
And so that's a good point, Ann, and I'll just answer a question you didn't really ask, but the invitation to the meeting and notification of the position opening goes out to those full regional lists. And then Diane has sent those in the past to some councils that LCC has. Lisa has kindly put that in the Explore Minnesota Industry newsletter. So we've passed it out there, and to all of you as well, that if you want to share it broadly, you can certainly do that. So we do try to get it out there in those various ways to account for that.
And it isn't, I'm going to comment on this from the perspective of the 10-state organization now. One of the strengths, huge strengths that Minnesota has is the representation up and down the river by quadrant of the river, or 1/6 of the river. And the ability to go deep into those communities to ensure that the people, all the people, well, we don't know how many people we reach, but we at least know that we mail to a lot of people so that we get representation and raise awareness of the ability to be on this commission if people want to be on it. So other states don't do it that way. They're gubernatorially appointed. They are appointed by their parties. And we have this system that is really suits us well and suits the Parkway Commission very, very well.
We're good on that matter?
So yeah, more to come on that, but that will happen before you meet again, and hopefully there would be recommendations then coming back to you at that time to consider.
Okay. And next is talking about staffing transition. I have in my notes that Diane and Andrew will lead this one. Unless Chris wants to jump in first.
Well, Andrew and I have been meeting. I can jump in
Yeah, for
quickly, to start going over various things and answer questions, and starting to transition things over to Andrew. And we'll talk a little bit later about the ambassador meeting last week. That was something that was a start in that direction as well, but I'll just start with that and then turn it back to you guys for thoughts.
Yeah. We've been meeting, procedures that happen from Chris's direction and work behind the scenes to plan meetings, meet with the interpretive centers last week, discuss the national organization, just, the knowledge is being transferred piece by piece. And that's kind of happening behind the scenes right now. And I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. And I would say too, like Andrew and Chris, thank you very much. And Megan too. Megan's picking up a bigger role. So you see her doing the minutes, that type of thing. That's Megan behind the scenes on it. And she's going to be some of what Chris has been doing. Megan's going to do too, with reaching out and that type of thing, with pulling of members and, adjusting the meeting times and whatever, that type of thing then too. Not belittling any of that, but it's a big part. But Megan, you'll see a role from Megan as well. And I'll still be here then too, but I want to appreciate both Chris and Andrew's time in working through this, a thoughtful process. It's difficult, you can imagine, Chris has been with the commission for 17 years. 17 years.
I started when I was 14.
So there's a lot, so it's great. And prior to Chris, and we also was on contract with Carlson Travel then too, at that time period too. And I came in with Carlson Travel is when I first started. They were with them, and pretty soon after I started, we worked with Chris and too. So a lot of changes out there and a lot of changes. So might not be everything, like change happens, and might be some things are, think about priorities with the MRPC, that type of thing out there, but yeah, we're committed to staffing the group and being here for you guys then too as well. So yeah, and Andrew does have some part of his time, as Chris was part-time, but I always thought she put in full-time, not part-time on her work here. But Andrew also has some other commissions then too. So it's a little front end for us too. The LCC always typically has been, as of late, getting some additional limited term working groups, task force that have a pretty large amount of members, pretty intense, and then have like reports due on February, for example. We have 4 more task force, and so we hire some staff, but some staff, Andrew's doing double duty on some of this then too. So anyway,
and then and then Chris and I chatted right before this meeting. I think for the November meeting, you'll be hearing more from me as the transition, and then possibly I'll be in the front running, but then with Chris's input from behind. So emails, logistics might be coming more for me in planning for the fall's meeting as well, for awareness on that.
Any questions about that transition? You're raising your hand on the screen. I can't see it because I got my notes in front of all of you. So speak up if you have it. Okay, we're gonna start talking about the National Great River Road for a little bit here. And one of the big things we have coming up is the national meeting in Baton Rouge. And I know that Senator Housley and Lewis, Carl Sampeter, and myself are planning to attend. I don't know of any others. Sally, I understand you.
Oh, I had
wanted you.
Conflicting at that time.
Conflict, I understand. And so I don't know if people, so now you know who's coming. If you want to coordinate it all about plans, I know I'm going to get in about 2 o'clock the day before, Tuesday, I think it is, the 9th, and just I know that area of Baton Rouge fairly well, so I just want to walk around the riverfront there. Great to have dinner with anybody who's in town that night. And I just want to call out that these national meetings are the chance to see the scope of who we are as a 10-state organization. That were about all the stories of the Mississippi River. And having done the cruise boats for 3 years, I've had to tell a lot of those stories all the way up down the river. And so it's amazing that, we're coming up on America 250, and the river holds so many stories that tell how America, what it was before America and what it's become since 1776. So it's a great way to get together all of our brethren up and down the Mississippi River and find out what they do. And I would invite Ann or anyone else who's been to one of those meetings to chime in as well.
Can I jump in
Yeah.
if I may? Is anyone else planning to go, David?
I'm maybe
Maybe?
leaning toward
Okay. Oh, good.
possibly.
I didn't just say on it.
I'll be going.
Oh,
Who else
Marnie,
jumped in?
I think
And
said that.
Marnie, was that you?
Yeah. Yep, I'm going.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll be back in my regular job, and then 2 weeks later I'll be going. So
Oh, awesome.
perfect timing.
Because the national office has kind of been asking us for updates, so we said we would bring that to all of you today. And then, we had a spot held for Senator Hoffman. Obviously, he's not able to go right now. We had a spot for Sally, not able to go, which is all good. But we do have those approvals. If we'd have any legislative members or public members interested in taking those slots, Diane, can we still do that?
For certain, yeah.
So anybody out there, if you want to let us know, we could do that. But thank you, David and Marnie, and we'll coordinate with you guys too as this goes forward. Thank you, Jen.
That's a popular day for conferences. There are 3 interesting conferences at the same time that week.
Well, we're going to have Susan Gon Stearns give a presentation about her book, River of Commerce. And it's an amazing history of the Mississippi that ties to I think I mentioned this before, think about tying the origins of traffic on the Mississippi to the Articles of Confederation that became before the American Constitution. And she tells about conflicts over the lower Mississippi played in to those foundational documents of the nation. So I can't wait. I read the book. I can't wait to hear from her. Anybody else want to chime in on it?
Oh, one other quick thing, gosh, it's always me, but there's usually a spot somewhere for state reports on these agendas. I'm not seeing it right now, but I will, and Andrew and I will work with those of you attending to make sure that if there is a state report requested from Minnesota, that we provide you guys with information with the
Is it not
talking
on there?
points.
It should be on there.
I'm not seeing it, but it usually
draft
is.
agenda.
And so someone, you know, the state chair or vice chair or some rep would be asked to give a Minnesota report. We'll make sure you have the content to do that with, I guess is all I'm gonna say.
Well,
Yeah.
Chris, you sent out a draft report for
Yeah.
last year. It could just be an executive summary.
Yeah, we'll pull
of
from
that.
that.
Yeah.
Mhm, absolutely. But we won't leave you cold is all I'm telling you on that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, nothing more on that. I'm going to go to the Communications and Marketing Committee, Kate and Chris. I don't know who's going to lead here.
I'm looking, I did find all of you on my screen a little bit better right now, so that's spiffy. I had and Kate I see is muted right now. I don't see her. I'll just start. I don't think, well, I know we haven't had another marketing committee meeting since we last met, but a couple of things going on at the national level would be the summer fun on the Great River Road promotion, offering local communities and attractions the opportunity to post their events for free on the national calendar. And then they're running a contest with that so that every month in the summer, people could register on their Facebook page to win, I think, $100 gift card each month. And so we're down to the final month of that, but that promotion is going on. And they are already at the national office level inviting nominations for the 250 favorite things to see and do along the Great River Road as part of the America 250 celebration coming up in 2026. So we're starting to promote that with our partners, asking our folks here in Minnesota to submit their attractions to be included in that. So that's a couple of marketing things that are out there going on. I don't know if anyone else has something to add. Anything to add, Kate? That's what I kind of had.
No, you covered it wonderfully, Chris.
Super duper. All right.
Any questions about that marketing committee? So Culture and Heritage Committee, David, you can weigh in as you want to here, but the committee really took up two things, a couple nominations for new interpretive centers. One, the Fairport Fish Hatchery. I know a fair amount about that. It was a hatchery that really became important to the mussel propagation program on the Mississippi River because the pearl button industry had so wiped out, you know, making buttons out of Mississippi River mussels. It so wiped out the mussels that they needed to propagate mussels, and they used fish they were capturing from the Mississippi to infect their gills with the glaucidia, the larvae of mussels, and then we put them back in the river, and they could think they could repropagate the mussels. But we're doing too many negative things to the river for that to really work. But there's a huge conference there that Secretary of Commerce Herbert Hoover oversaw, and they brought together the anglers and the mussel collectors, the industry, you know, hunters and fishers, and, you know, just everybody you could think of. It must have been the most phenomenal conference to be at about the pollution, overuse, and future of the Mississippi. And this is where it happened. It was at the Fairport Fish Hatchery. It was a nationally significant center for fish and mussel research. And they did an exceptional nomination, and we accepted it unanimously, very quickly. So another great story of the Mississippi River. The one that became more complex and has been complex for some time concerns Tom Lee Park in Memphis. It's a huge new park, fairly new park in Memphis. It's named after Tom Lee, an African-American man who there was a Society for American Military Engineers cruise boat out on the river, and they overloaded it entirely, and it capsized in the river. And Tom Lee took his skiff, even though he couldn't swim, he had a skiff. He went out there, he rescued 32 passengers from that boat. And for that, they honored him at the time, and they named this park for him, Tom Lee. And so that's how the Tom Lee Park name came to be. They've redone it so beautifully. It's winning all kinds of national awards. And now they want it to be a Great River Road Interpretive Center. But there is no interpretive center. The park, they've got a welcome center where you can come in and get some information, but there's no interpretive center. And they have pushed us. I got some emails from Memphis that they really want this to be an interpretive center. They're pushing very, very hard to have it listed as one. And when this came up last year, we really tried to work at this is a 21st century question. Because you could have a series of signs out in a park with QR codes on them that could give you more content than in some of our interpretive centers physically. So how do we think about this going forward? There's a fair amount of political pressure on us to think about adding this one. But this would open the door to every river park on the Mississippi. There are, what I want to say, 80 river parks in the Mississippi National River and Recreation Corridor alone. There are probably thousands of parks on the Mississippi River. We start opening that door. How do we handle it? I'm not going to resolve that question here today. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit in another thing where it's coming up regard to Historical Society in Minnesota, potentially. But what we need to have a conversation about in Memphis and maybe here, but about the culture and heritage is how do we interpret place on the river in the 21st century, given the tools we have? Could we create a new designation within the culture and heritage framework where it's not an interpretive center, it's a destination, and we can promote the heck of it on our websites, statewide and nationwide, and bring more people to the Great River Road. So it's something to think about. Come to Memphis and we'll have that conversation.
Baton Rouge.
I'm sorry, Baton Rouge, Memphis as well. I got Memphis on my mind.
The
Yeah,
park is in Memphis.
I had time at one of my cruises where we docked in Memphis, and I spent 5 hours in Tom Lee Park. And there's a big Coleman event there and a big band getting ready to play. And I spent 2 hours with the promoter from Memphis, him taking me around the park. So it's fabulous, but it's not an interpretive center. So it's complicated. But I'll say a little bit more about it when we come to the ambassador program we did. Any questions about comments, thoughts on the Tom Lee Park potential precedent that could be set or not set?
I think that's a really interesting idea to think of a different type of designation, because if it's a different experience, then we won't be disappointing if someone thinks they're gonna meet a person and or have like really deep content through a QR code or through signage. But primarily from a person, that if that's the expectation from an interpretive center and it's a passive park, then someone will just wonder what that means. But acknowledging the importance of parks and the growth in interpretive signage in park locations is something to think about.
So Kayla Stilo attended the ambassador meeting. I'll bring that up now. And she brought up the fact that Historical Society has 8, 9, 10 or so sites that don't have visitor centers, but have interpretation on site. And she sent me the list of those. So the Historical Society already does outdoor interpretation at certain sites, right?
Absolutely. And that area is growing. We've done interpretive signage that is really well researched, well written, thoroughly vetted by a lot of different sources in places that we can't staff to the level that we either want to or used to because of budgets.
That's the rub.
That's a great alternative, partly because someone can go to a site. I don't want to say 24/7 because we don't want people lurking around, but dawn till dusk, we'll just say, and on their own time, get some experiencing place, which is one of the really important aspects of going to a historic place.
Peter's got a hand up too.
Peter, you got your hand up. You got to just speak up. Butt in.
Thank you. So Peter McDonough, for those who weren't here during the introduction, senior landscape architect with MnDOT, Great River Road program manager. I looked at the Tom Lee Park and I know of the designers, Escape, and then also Jeannie Gang's group from Chicago, Escape from the East Coast. And it's a beautiful project, but it's very, very much about a social gathering place, which is great. And very much about recreation, very much about events. But I think it's very slim on the Mississippi River, and which I find disappointing because about 200 yards up the river, maybe half a mile, is Mud Island. And Mud Island was a true Mississippi River Interpretive Center, both a museum and an outdoor exhibit area. And funding was pulled on it during COVID, and it hasn't reopened. There is talk that the outside part has remained open, but the museums have not been open. And I feel like Tom Lee is a beautiful park is the new shiny thing, and Mud Island, which has a great combination of things about the Mississippi River. I'm not saying neglected, but certainly almost forgotten, because if you look at any of the maps about Tom Lee, there isn't a single notation that Mud Island is just off the side of the map. So I had that concern. Really, it was recreational gathering place, beautiful landscape architecture, but I'm not sure of its strong connection to the Mississippi River. Now that could change. They had a lot more interpretive signage, if they add some outdoor exhibits which talk about the river. So anyways, that was my thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. They are building a big new overlook that is going to interpret the flyway. And so that's there. We have heard that Mud Island is going to reopen as an interpretive center, which is great news. And one thing I've suggested is that they just amend the Mud Island nomination to include Tom Lee Park. And that way you could encompass it in one. They would have their visitor center, it would just be at Mud Island. So this is a kind of, what excites me about this is that we seem like a stale old organization at times. And here we can have a conversation about how do we as an organization of the 21st century think about how we bring this river to people and what we are bringing to people. It might be recreation, but it's along the river and how we do that. So I'm excited by the conversation, if we don't please everybody with the outcome even. So.
And I would just add another thing, and that I have a soft spot and maybe a bias for Mud Island. My wife and I did a joint landscape architecture thesis about the Mississippi River. We set it on the south end of Nicollet Island, and it was the Mississippi River Interpretive Center for the northern half of the river, because the Mud Island is for the southern half of the river from Cairo to the Gulf. And we went down to Memphis, met the designers, Roy Conover, got tours, met members of the team, met folks in Memphis, and that was our precedent tour, so to speak. It's like, this is what it can be. And one of the things in our interpretive center, which only exists on paper, but what we were told was if we'd had the chance, we would have done more outdoor interpretive exhibits, things that could be, and that weren't sensitive to rain or water, and maybe only involved the toughest type of materials that could be outdoors all the time. And in our interpretive center, we focused on making a 50-50 in terms of interpretation happen strongly outside along the river. And we copied them in terms of putting a model in the northern portion of the river in concrete. And then the interior museum was another standalone piece, but we saw it as the two of them coming together and supporting each other, strong outside, leading to stories on the inside. So thank you.
Great, Peter, you're gonna have to skip your transportation committee meeting in Baton Rouge and come to the Culture and Heritage Committee meeting. So thanks. So let's move on to environment, recreation, and agriculture.
You need a co-chair.
I was gonna bring that up a little later. Okay. Oh, actually, I could bring it up now that you push me on it. So in Baton Rouge, there's a good chance, a strong chance, that I will move up to pilot or chair of the 10-state organization. And when I do that, I don't know that I'm gonna have time to be co-chair of the Culture and Heritage Committee as well. I really should open that door to someone else. Could be someone from Minnesota. We could maybe try to get someone from Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, someone from the northern part of the river to be co-chair with Pat Otters from Arkansas. But I just want to put that on the table, that if you're thinking about anybody who wants to co-chair the Culture and Heritage Committee for the 10 states, that position is going to be open after September, most likely. So just a note. I still have to get through the election, right? And Okay,
Do you have a campaign?
now can I move on, Chris?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you better get used to this, Andrew. You gotta tell the chair when they can do things, when they gotta move on, when they gotta hold up. It
I'm
just-
bossy. What are you gonna do?
So environment, recreation, agriculture, Marnie.
So I wasn't able to attend that one. I think Amanda was going to try to attend. Were you able to do that?
Yes.
Wonderful.
I sent
Also-
notes to the people who attended with me because there were actually like 3, I think, other people from this group that were there. So just give me one moment. I know the big thing was pollinator week that we talked about, but if you guys just give me one moment, I'll pull up my raw notes from the committee.
Thank you.
While,
Yeah,
while Amanda's doing that, I
Yeah.
also attended, and it was all pollinators all the time. There was one about Monarch Week, all about pollinators, and then also they brought up the issue of mayfly populations have been plummeting as a result of neonicotinoids. So that was a concern that was brought up, and that was the main focus. I'll turn it over to Amanda because that's really in the DNR purview. So I apologize, but I just wanted to say I was present in Marnie's place. Obviously not the same thing.
So Peter, you gave me time to pull up the notes, so I'm like ready to go. So thank you for filling in that gap. Like Peter said, the big thing was Pollinator Week. They mentioned pollinator.org as being a website for pollinator partnerships and that they have really great resources there. We did talk a little bit about some nominations for membership under resources section, but that has been past the deadline. And I think the biggest thing was, and then Operation Pollination as well. And then there was a pollinator week map. So there were some spots along the Mississippi River and week, like a Monday through Sunday week, just to make sure people understand which week I'm using. So there were links to the pollinator sites and having a proclamation for Pollinator Week. It included toolkits and resources for people. And those were the major things we heard about. Oh, and there was a call to interpretive centers being a great place to have information for pollinators as well. And a note that MnDOT has been working on some signage related to pollinators. So those were the main notes, themes I heard from the meeting. Anyone else who attended that I might have missed something. I think I covered it all, but.
Go ahead, Ann.
As I recall, we also only briefly talked about the Stewardship Award, which comes out of that committee, and nominations should have been in by now or actually by tomorrow. But I don't know whether they've received any at all. But we talked a bit about the Stewardship Award, only briefly.
You got the correct name for the thing that I was talking about.
I was wondering, should it be the Stewardship Award?
That is what I was talking about. I apologize. I wrote it down incorrectly. So yes, that's what they mentioned. Because I think the deadline was July 1st. We extended the deadline from June 15th.
Yeah,
to
it's
July
more
1st.
like August 15th, but you're
Oh,
right.
okay.
So Marnie, I guess your hand is up, but the top part of my screen is cut off.
Yeah, I'm just curious from the people who attended, were there very many other people present?
From other states, you mean?
From other states, yeah.
It seemed like the majority of people were from Minnesota. The main person that spoke was from La Crosse. And then, oh my goodness, I'm totally going to blank on the person's name that's down south. But it seemed like it was probably
Somebody in person from Mississippi was also there.
Okay.
And then Roz Schnick
Yeah,
spoke
she's
a little.
she's lacrosse.
And then
she's lacrosse.
Sabrina chaired, so it was mainly northern part of the river that was represented. And but one of the things that came up about the interpretive centers and was an example of the Minnesota Marine Art Museum, which has a butterfly garden. And isn't it an opportunity for interpretive centers, all of the 90 plus interpretive centers along the river, to create and have these and be a kind of a touchstone and a spot, a launching idea for pollinator habitat throughout the river valley, but these places where you can find out in-depth information about it. So I thought that was nice that was highlighted, because having seen it last year, I thought it's a really fine example of a pollinator monarch butterfly garden. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Anybody else? If not, we will move on to the Transportation Committee and you again, Peter.
Whoops. So let me get my notes. The two major topics that were covered are the same two major topics that were covered in the second quarter transportation meeting, and that is the Mississippi River Trail sign and logo process that has been going on for a couple of years, that's been headed up by Francis Schelfhout from Wisconsin DOT. And they have moved that now into the process where it is now under the purview of the greater 10 state MRPC. And so that's a huge deal to me. I think it's a great deal. Now, Minnesota, of course, already has signed, thanks to Carol and the folks that she worked with over the years, the MRT signage throughout Minnesota near and adjacent the Great River Road. Now the other states are there are some legal things that need to be finished up. Francis hired an attorney in La Crosse, and they are getting close to completing all of the paperwork so that it can be sent out to all the other states and they can start to sign the MRT in their states. So that was number one. And number two was the ongoing inventory of wayfinding signage for interpretive centers, for the Great River Road interpretive centers, the 90 plus interpretive centers that are, as John talked about earlier, that are sanctioned or authorized Great River Road interpretive centers. And no state has completed it. So Francis, as the chair, has said that he's looking to he wants that to be complete by the 2026 meeting. There are some states that have parts of it done. I have a large part of it done. Pilcher Barnett hired an intern from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Abby, and I'm gonna not do well with her name, but it's Corticiato. And she is working with me on a template because I didn't see one that could, like, we'd be the same for each state. It was kind of like each state was different. So I asked if she could work on putting a template together that we could all use the same template. So she is working on that. And I'm going to be talking with her in the next sometime next week. She's looking on her calendar for a spot. And it's the turn-by-turn directions. It's the pictures of the signage, and based on the MUTC guidelines, looked at about a 5-mile distance from the Great River Road to this interpretive center. So 5 miles out from the interpretive center. And so I have done most of that, but when Abby gets the template finished, she and I will work on her putting it into this standard that hopefully can be applied to all the other states. So that's where we're at right now. And that's the end of the transportation. Any questions?
So correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, just the issue with the MRT sign was trademark.
It was trademark, yes.
The trademark, and we had to wait for it to expire and then take the legal steps to own the trademark. And that's what we've got, right?
That is correct. And that trademark expired at the end of March. And the attorneys that Francis had hired jumped right on that, got the rights to it. And now they're running through the entire process of how it applies to each of the 9 other states. As I said, Minnesota already has MRT signs in place with the logo.
And I had a question about that. I was at a meeting this morning for Josh Straka from Representative Betty McCollum's office was at it. And he asked about the MRT and what this Mississippi River Trail and what the status of it was. And so I was able to give him that update.
Good, good.
So, okay.
I'm gonna, if I may, Peter, thank you for that report on transportation. I wasn't able to make that meeting, but getting templates for this, for all the states, so we have uniform information is a wonderful step. I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you so much for doing that.
For my pleasure. And all of this, for when it is all complete, it will be on the MRPC site. So anybody can go to that and look those up and get the turn-by-turn directions of any of the 90 plus Great River Road interpretive centers that they want to visit. Thank you.
Thanks for that update. So the roadside storybook is this kind of project that's been going on for some time with signage along the Great River Road. Some of you may have stopped at them at my Lake City or other places. They're big outdoor panels that interpret the Great River Road, its history, its natural resources. And the whole thing as originally planned was never completed, although part of it was, and some of it's in good shape and some of it's in bad shape. And we're trying to figure out how to go forward. So Chris, I'm gonna let you and Carol and others maybe give a little more update on this. We had an executive committee meeting on it.
Sure. This is Chris. Thanks, John. And your packet, pages 8 through 13, you've got a whole bunch of information on the roadside storybook project. And I think I'd call out page 11 to start with, which is a map of Minnesota and shows you locations of the current signs that are placed out there. So you can see where they're distributed throughout the state. Part of, I guess, the main issue right now before proceeding with any new panels is the question of what to do with the panels that are out there, especially the ones that are in various stages of their lives at this point. And page 13 is an example of that. And we did get a contact relatively recently about the panels out at the St. Cloud Travel Information Center, and that they were kind of behind some bushes and looking like they maybe needed some cleaning and things like that. So I know that MnDOT staff were going to go out and work on that from the district. That's just an example to show you some of the things that are out there. The executive committee discussed this on July 17th, I think it was, in terms of, okay, what happens, what next, what should be done with the panels that are out there that are not functional anymore, what should happen with the plan to place new panels. And they really recommended going forward with developing a project team, an ad hoc committee for that. And John, David, Carol had volunteered. Also, David kindly volunteered some additional help from the Minnesota Historical Society to pull together a team to really look at this further and make a recommendation on what to do with panels that are out there, and also how to proceed with getting the rest of this project completed, whether that be seeking sources of funding, identifying lead agencies that would work with this, et cetera. There are a lot of questions to be dealt with, and it would take some significant time, even in terms of an ad hoc committee. So the question is coming back to you on whether that's the way you would like to proceed, and if you would like that to be a priority moving forward. Because if you do that, it will take, even though there's no money attached to it right now, it takes time and effort from all of you and others at your agencies and your capacity. So it's bringing that question back to you from the executive committee. And Anne was there, David was there, others were there. So please jump in. That's just kind of setting the stage for you.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is the most striking is the money issue. And that's really, and of course you can't go after the money until you have a plan. So it's that old chicken and the egg, which one do we do first? But the money is a real stumbling block because these panels are not cheap. And then we want to be sure that we do them right. And that's going to take actually research, and it's going to take labor intensive kind of work. I think we're not to the point, nor am I interested in using AI to do this in the least, but it's just going to take some work, and the panels themselves are expensive. So that's a big stumbling block for us. not to say that the storyboards aren't really important. I think you look at this map, a lot of these, the ones that exist, the locations that exist, and I think we're not trying to change the locations. We're trying to stay with the same locations and just make better use of them. But a lot of them are small towns and places along the river that don't have a lot of interpretation. So they're very, with the exception of Itasca State Park, they're a real important resource for some of those communities. So they are a very important part of interpretation, which we have a commitment to. So it's a tough nut, but I think we should, I would speak to us trying to make progress on this somehow, some way.
Carl Stamp has his hands up.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we have someone kind of looking at those signs to kind of gauge the, the quality of them, or do you need regional commissioners to do that and take any pictures and send in?
Where's Carol?
Yeah, so, and actually Tim is online. He may be working on something else, but in November of 21, when Tim served as the Great River Road program coordinator, he and one of our seeds workers went out and visited every site, photo documented it. They have built that GIS database with condition results, but that was 21. I am pretty sure that at least at one of MnDOT's waysides, those have been redeveloped, refabricated, probably not rewritten though, just because they were working on the site. So I definitely recommend that they be reassessed in the field and that database be updated since we built it. I don't know who will do that though, to tell you the truth. Because yeah, and then there's Marnie. I mean, they could be done as an initial consultant project as well.
Marnie's hands up.
Marnie, I guess your hand is up too. Anybody who's at the top of my screen, I can't see your hand, so.
That's all right. My thoughts are that we should look for money. Right? Should look for money so we could have somebody who has, I know we have people who have worked on these things before, but everybody has other jobs and we need to look for money so we could do another evaluation and then determine like what the best way to move forward would be. In the past, we've talked about, wouldn't it be nice to have, the little codes on the panels and people could use their phones and, there's a lot we could do with updating these. So that's my thought, is to look for money.
So Marty, I mean, what I'm hearing is that, I think it'd be good to have this committee get together because, if we get the money, who's going to manage it? So there's all these detail questions we have to figure out. And some of it might be more the language, the way they're written, the content they have. And now that we just had this conversation about all the 21st technology we could use on new signage, we got to introduce that idea as well. So I think maybe the ad hoc committee comes together, kind of discusses the issues and comes back with a recommendation maybe, or a.
Do we need a motion to create an ad hoc committee?
Isn't it created?
We had volunteers and then it was coming back to the full
Oh, I
commission
see.
for your determination on that. So that would indicate, I'd say, yeah, David.
So you're moving to establish an ad hoc committee?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor of joining it? Now that you voted for it. I mean, we already have some.
Great, Sally. Thank you.
Thanks, Sally.
I don't know whether we should do this, if this is advisable. I'm looking over at Andrew and at Chris. But maybe we put the priority, as Marnie has pointed out, put the priority on thinking about how we might fund this and what sources we should be focusing on.
And for what?
And for
Specific
what
tasks.
things, yeah, exactly. And that maybe should be our first order of business.
That's why I'm thinking, could we go to the legacy funds for writing this history stories of these things and get funding from?
Yes, probably, but before you do that, you want an inventory.
Yeah.
and
Right, yeah.
All that stuff.
All that stuff.
Diane,
Thank you. So like there's a lot of layers to this and it's a big thing and this has been talked about for a number of years out there. So, I mean, some of the executive committee also talked about like, who's the owners of this then?
Yeah.
Is there a transfer of ownership of it? If you do it, what happens in the future then too? That kind of consideration too. Or should signs be taken down or not, and all these type of things. So there's lots of layers to this. And even recognizing we all have limited capacity and this commission has limited capacity, that there might be, if you look at funding, need to be a project manager that would be something that would be able to, work through this project because I mean, it takes a communication piece. It's engaging with people. It's engaging with communities. It's knowledge of the construction, or it's got a lot of layers to it. And then, John, I think you were pointing out too, like you were talking about with the SKU codes. Yeah, that could be something in the future too. Like, do you do something like that and depend less on the actual writing of the sign? So there's also a technology component then to just consider. So I'm just that there needs to be layers in the executive committee we talked about a lot, but there was a lot of stuff to this. So it's good. Yeah.
Break it down step by
Break it
step.
down step by step, yeah.
Yep. How
That's
to
what
eat
we want.
elephant one bite at a time.
Well, thank you all. If anybody didn't raise their hand yet, you can still get in anytime. So plan your
If you
trip.
have technical expertise.
Plan your trip update.
I think mine.
Sure. Marty, I think that's you.
That's me. I don't have my hand up either. So I think everybody knows, but Andrew Kurth from MnDOT, he's our OES Environmental Stewardship GIS guy, and he worked away on getting the Plan Your Trip app rebuilt from scratch, and it's been done. He got it done ahead of time, so our goal was to get it done before the Drive the Great River Road month. So pretty excited about that. He did use the old app as a guide, but he made some changes a little bit to some of the aesthetics, like the colors and what did he say? Symbology, to give it an updated look. It's got some a little bit different functionality, some improvements, I would say, for users to interact with the navigation tool right from a point of interest. So that's a pretty cool feature. And then you can also directions to, directions from. So it's a little more user friendly with this update. So yeah, he got it done, and that's what I have to report. Yeah, good stuff.
Anybody else?
This is Chris. I'll just add, it is up also. So it was done early and the links were provided by the wonderful partners at MnDOT who did all this work, and you can now access it from the Minnesota Great River Road webpage. So it's there. The new one is now what you will find out there. And thank you so much for the rebuild of all that. Works like a charm. So it's awesome.
So Marty, you just said you got it done before, you got it done early. Got it done.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can thank him or recognize him for doing that?
Yeah, that would be nice. He's a great guy. I think I've said that before, and he had another priority project he was working on at the same time, and he got them both done, but I don't know if I don't know.
I'll tell you what, I could.
What do you think?
Can I move as vice chair that we draft a letter thanking him coming from Senator Housley as our chair of this, that she would sign it, thanking him for the effort he put into this? That's my motion.
I'll second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, thank you. And so, I mean, I was panicking a bit when I heard that we had to redo that whole website. So it's phenomenal to have it in place. I got a demonstration of it at the ambassador program update, and it looks great. So
He did a
anything
great job.
else, Marty?
That's it for me. Thank you. And I thank you for offering to do a letter to him. He'll appreciate that.
Well, we
I don't think he
appreciate
looks for kudos. He's not the type to do that. So he will definitely appreciate that.
Thanks so much. So, ambassador program update. You know, the ambassadors are the people who will promote us out in the field throughout the entire state of Minnesota along the Great River Road. So, Chris, you want to start that off?
So the most recent activity related to the ambassador program was a Zoom session for interpretive centers last week. I think it was last week, August 6th. Time flies. And so that's something that's happened for the last couple of years, a group session for interpretive centers as primary ambassadors for the Great River Road, and offering information and updates and trying to facilitate discussion among the centers as well, and things that they can do together and help promote each other. So that meeting did happen on August 6th, and we had just a couple of them in attendance, and that is often the case. Itasca State Park was there. Also, Charles Lindbergh House was there on the Zoom screen.
Kayla, in her new role, though,
Mhm.
she's got a new role.
You're gonna be spending more time with partnership sites, and partnership sites are sites that we work with other organizations to manage on a day-to-day basis, and or the unstaffed sites.
So we'd be happy to send out, and can certainly do that with the meeting follow-up, the presentation that was given that day, so all of you can see it. We didn't go through a full orientation of the Great River Road. That would be offered at other times as people would like it, but we went through information on current things happening with national office opportunities. We went through a plan your trip kind of test drive with them to show them the new rebuild, and Peter led that for us, so that was great. Had discussion. Andrew presented some of the slides and was part of that meeting, and is now listed as the main contact going forward for interpretive centers. So we also used it as a transition and introduction piece. What else did we do? Those that were there.
We talked about the Tom Lee Park in Memphis issue, and which led David to a phenomenal conversation with Kayla and as well as Heather Funk from DNR, the partnerships person. I think that's her arena up in at Itasca State Park, and it was a great conversation about, you know, inside outside interpretation, what you do, how you go down the road in the future, and it brought up Lindbergh House in particular because it's one of the 13 interpretive centers for the Great River Road in Minnesota, but the Historical Society, due to budget issues, is closing the museum piece of that, except for special events. And so it's going to be more focused on the outside now, which in a way, if someone came to us now and said, we're proposing Lindbergh House as an outside experience only, we probably wouldn't accept it. So it kind of got in it fit into that conversation. What if other states have to do the same thing? Hopefully this is just temporary thing that because of budget, or how do we continue interpretation sites like that, even in Minnesota, not just Tom Lee Park in Memphis? How do we work this out? So it brought it home to Minnesota much closer.
I would add, I was gonna address this in my agency update, but I'll just dive in now. John, as you referenced, we have some budget challenges at the Minnesota Historical Society, and we have a deficit for this fiscal year, and announced 2 weeks ago that unfortunately we are reducing a number of staff across our system, and sites are part of that system. The History Center will have fewer staff in some areas, including the library, but also some historic sites, including Lindbergh and others. And we're trying not to use the word close at all, because none of those sites, there are 3 in particular: Lindbergh, Forestville, and the Fur Post in Pine City, Northwest Company, Snake River Fur Post. None of them are closing. They're going to be open at a much lower level, but they're not closing. We're not locking the doors and saying, don't come here. It's going to look different, like you said, John, with more of the self-interpreted stuff, which is available at all hours, and special programs. And what do the special programs look like? We're designing that now. So I wouldn't say exactly that it's exclusively an outdoor experience. The indoor experience will be a lot more limited. And what does that look like 2, 4, 10 years from now? We don't know. And I think that some of those sites, the Fur Post, all of those sites. They're in beautiful locations on the Snake River, the Mississippi River, and there's a lot of potential. We just can't do everything that we want to do that we have done in the past. So we'll keep working on how we do this work to serve the public as best we can.
Great update, David. I mean, but again, it makes that conversation that we're having about the future of interpretation and how you do it and where you do it immediately relevant to how we think even here in Minnesota.
Carol's got a hand up.
Carol.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this because it's come up in the last couple meetings about what is interpretation and where do you do it? Where do you receive it or experience it? And, kind of like transportation in general, the Great River Road grew up because of auto transportation. People were getting cars. And so we wanted to develop places to avoid unsafe roadside stops. So we built this collection of overlooks, which we still have many of them today, and MnDOT manages those. But we now have the Mississippi River Trail. And, I think that people are more health conscious than they were back in the 30s. And so we can lean into this outdoor experience. We did it pretty successfully during COVID, but I think just in general, what people want is to be outside and to take that walk and to learn about the place. And so I agree that I would hate to have interpretive centers morph into just any place along the river. I think there needs to be storytelling, and I thank you, John, for taking that to the 10-state group and considering what those criteria would be. But I honestly think that this is a win-win for us to leverage active transportation access to the river, which through the MRT, which the 10-state group is also leaning into. But here in Minnesota, we have it. It's already established and signed. And then we've got these great sites. And if people have to walk around near the river, I think that's a win. I really do. A lot of people will avoid going in a building for an hour and a half on a Saturday. They don't want to do that anymore. But a lot of people still do when it rains and it's snowy. So, we need all of it, but maybe it's interpretive sites and interpretive centers and just embrace this as it's an evolution.
David, yeah, great points. This is a conversation we want in Baton Rouge and here as well.
One additional thing to add to the conversation about interpretation at the Lindbergh site, when you think about Lindbergh in history, in 1927, he was a household name. He was known by everyone, probably 90+% name recognition. Now, not so much. So Lindbergh as a person is less of a draw. So the challenge for us is, what do we use that site for as a place on the Mississippi? And interestingly, we have more participation. I wouldn't use the word visitation, but more participation online with programs about Lindbergh than we do in person. So webinars, seminars, there is interest in Lindbergh because he's a controversial figure. After his flight, he visited Germany in the 1930s, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of controversy about how his life is interpreted and whether he was a Nazi sympathizer or not, whether he was all that. So that today is drawing a lot of interest beyond the state of Minnesota. So people who will never come to Minnesota and never go to Little Falls are interested in talking about this story online. So through podcasts and seminars and webinars and things like that. So Carol, to your point, the world is changing and how we do this learning is rapidly evolving. And how do we harness that? How do we catch that train? That's
what a fantastic thing for the new co-chair of the committee to culture and to take.
Oh man.
So David, in a nutshell, you got to partner with Grant and Amanda, because right across the street, you got this great state park that is filled with relics of the past. And like even we can cross promote down at the statue across from the transportation building, because right there it talks about, it has a picture of the little kid, Charles Lindbergh, and how he loved growing up on the river.
Yeah.
And he dreamed of flying because it's this bluff type of an environment there. It's a great, I don't know, you guys have so much to do in the future. No, but I mean, really, you've got that state park there, and maybe that, you know, just again, lean into it as an outdoor site. It's a cool site. I like that park too.
We had a conversation this week with DNR leadership just to continue, not even start the conversation about how we work together at some of our sites that are adjacent to state parks.
Oh, that's great to know. Awesome.
Interesting.
Okay, Drive the Great River Road Month.
Sure, I can start with the report about 2025, and the plan for this year, which is less than a month away, is to promote the new and improved and fabulous Plan Your Trip that's just rebuilt by MnDOT. So we will be using that as this year's theme in a bit of a more, I won't say limited, structured, focused way, without necessarily a kickoff event or some of the outreach to partners that we've done past years, but some things that are the same. Governor's proclamation has been requested. We will have a release ready to send out to our media lists and all of you. And then content would focus on promoting Plan Your Trip and the various things within it. So the plan for social media includes general information about Drive the Great River Road Month, the national MRPC contests that we always help promote, and then examples of all the things that you can find within Plan Your Trip under the various categories. So we'll pull some examples to show from parks and forests, from historic sites, from arts and culture, for example, and that will be the series of posts for this year in preparation then for a bigger, better approach in 2026 as you've had some of the past years. But that is the plan for this year. And I think it's a good one in terms of time that we have available right now and resources, and also honoring that rebuild that was just done. It's a big deal. And, you know, I talk about how much I love that tool all the time, probably ad nauseum, but when you zoom in and you can see that exact Great River Road route in all the communities and exactly what people are talking about if they call saying, can we get a letter of support from the commission for XYZ park? It's just such a tool that you can immediately see what that means. So again, I think it's a very fitting tribute for this year's Drive the Great River Road Month. So you'll see more coming out on that to commission members with the usual requests that we need your help getting the word out. Please share in your newsletters and social media and all that good stuff.
You can build that app or that capacity, that functionality. Then on top of the fact that USA Today named the Great River Road one of the best scenic drive in America, and put those things together in a very advantageous campaign that will raise awareness, but also help people get access, just help people have more access to that great drive. So
absolutely,
I think it's, the app, getting that Plan Your Trip thing out there, getting the word out is, as a goal, is for this is a really important thing.
Thanks, Shannon. And that app helps you get to historic sites and other sites as well. And so 2026, what's going on?
So, and if you've read the meeting minutes for the past few months, we had talked about doing a history theme for this year, and as the executive committee was having a conversation, we were having a conversation at the Historical Society, just thinking, we're not sure we can pull that off for this year. And I think you guys were a half a step ahead of us in the executive committee, thinking, wait, if we wait until 2026, that's the sesquicentennial. No, semi-quincentennial. Practice, everyone. Semi-quincentennial, 250.
I'm just saying 250.
250 is easier. Is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So in a lot of ways, that makes sense. The America 250 commemoration, Minnesota and nationwide, is not just July 4th signing of the Declaration of Independence. We're going to hear a lot about that from Washington, D.C. and elsewhere. But if you look at it in a broader sense, it's a whole year, and that fits in well with doing Drive the Great River Road Month in September of 2026. But it's also a longer swath of time. We are not obviously one of the original 13 colonies where they had battles and did all that. We had some great stuff happening here in 1776 with Native communities and fur traders and all that kind of stuff, but it's a different kind of a commemoration. So we are at the Minnesota Historical Society thinking about this as not just what happened 250 years ago, but what has happened in 250 years since then, as a way to think about what started then in those revolutionary times that are finished or are unfinished. So it's a great lead up to doing Drive the Great River Road Month. And John, I'm looking forward to hearing the speaker in Baton Rouge and or reading the book. I think
It's a great book.
Pull that off before then. But it's good to have another year to put this together, and I think we'll have it be more meaningful. And then maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, we can have history as one of the themes, just kind of focusing just on the Mississippi River in Minnesota, not the wider 250 stuff, but in our rotating themes of arts and ag and natural resources. We'll pick up history again in a few years.
And you know, I mean, many of those things that you're planning for September could be among the 250 things we're trying to identify for the whole Great River Road, the 10 states. So, you know, be ready to plug those in.
Yep.
Any questions for David on that thinking?
So I have a question on clarification, if I may. I hear you that we weren't one of the 13 original colonies, but there was quite a bit of activity, both civilization kind of activity, but also economic activity that was impactful to this nation. And I feel like that's often overlooked part of the nation's history. And I hear that you want to, you know, evolve it and bring it into what it is today, or make what's been happening for 250 years. But those things that were happening in this area, which was not a state, were impactful to the history of the way the country evolved. And it would be a shame to lose that opportunity if we can build that in a way that is exemplary. It would be great to do that. And then we could really, the Great River Road could really benefit from that. Because rivers were the lifeblood for these civilizations in that time. Pardon me?
The highways.
Well, they were the highways, but they were also for communication. They were what people used to communicate with each other because they had to go there in order to talk to people. They went by canoe, or they went by vessel on the river. So the understanding of how these were the initial communications systems, these were the initial travel systems, and how that impacted the way the whole state got set up, or this region, actually, the upper Midwest got set up, is right there in the river. And so I don't want us to just do how it started, something that now it's people forget about what was happening then.
One of the things that we're going to be doing as a sort of deliverable for the year 2026 is the next revision of Northern Lights, which is the curriculum for 6th graders. So we have a textbook that's been out for 25 or 30 years. I think this is the 3rd or 4th edition, but that's being done right now. And the current version is not perfect, but I think has a really good coverage of Native nations. And the first 2 chapters are Dakota and Ojibwe, and the next edition will cover those themes.
Yep, in fact, I would like to mention too that Dr. Anton Troyer from Bemidji
Yes.
State University has a book out there called Minnesota, or what is it? Ojibways in Minnesota. Ojibways in Minnesota has that history between the 1700 and the 1800s. So I think that would be a valuable.
He's got a lot of books.
He does have a lot of books, but this is just a concise history of
Yeah.
Ojibwe in Minnesota. That's the name of it. It's really a
Well, he's got the
phenomenal.
concise history and his brother David has the mammoth history, which is, could, you know, give you a ton of material, but that's there too, so.
Yeah, I think it's exciting.
Yeah, it's been a great year to get ready for. Okay, commission member updates. Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative is the first thing on that. You know, that it's going to be here the week after the meeting in Baton Rouge, and it's going to be all through the Metro Corridor in part because they're going to do initial meetings up in Champlin and Fridley, Brooklyn Park, I think it is. They're going to be at the Intercontinental Hotel in St. Paul. They're going over to Nicollet Island Inn for an event in Minneapolis. I mean, it's really going to show off the Twin Cities metro area, but also Red Wing is one of the contributing cities to this as well. So as Senator Hoffman was saying when he was here last time, was 104 mayors are coming or potentially coming up here from all the states. And it's going to be a fantastic meeting. Their agenda is online. I know Ann and I have both registered for it. And I'm registered for it because I want to explore this partnership. How can the mayors on the Mississippi not be closely tied to the Great River Road and what we do potentially for them? And so it's about exploring partnerships with this organization, MRCTI. And you can go online, look at the website and see what their temporary or their initial agenda is up. They're going to be honoring in particular Senator Hoffman at some point in that meeting. So anybody else interested in that or have any comments on the MRCTI meeting?
John, is that open to anyone who wants to show up rather than just mayors or city council members?
You have to register.
It costs $350 to register.
Oh.
I registered.
Okay.
So there's a cost to it, and I'm not sure, looking at the agenda where Ann and I slip into it, we're gonna meet with have a call with Brandt, who's kind of like their administrative person and figure out what roles can we play. But it is open more than just the mayors, but it's a chance to network with all those mayors on the river. And I think it's a partnership opportunity that we have to nurture from the state as well as a 10-state perspective. So just wanted to make you aware of that. You can go on the website and find it. I have just a couple other quick updates. I don't know if some of you saw the article in the Tribune about how I know Grant and the DNR people love this, that the Corps of Engineers in their disposal study for the Upper Lock said that the state owns this 39-foot high dam cut off all under the Mississippi at St. Anthony Falls, which no one accepts ownership for. The state has since replied with a very legalistic piece of work saying, we don't own it, you do, Corps of Engineers, you built it. And so that's kind of hit the public, and there's going to be a big debate about this wall that was built across and under the Mississippi between 1874 and 76. So just a heads up on that. It brings a lot of attention to the river is the way I look at it. What I want to also mention was that three big things are happening with regard to the other two locks and dams downstream, the Lower St. Falls Lock and Dam and Lock and Dam 1. I've mentioned before that, the Corps is leaving those sites as well. But we learned that after limping along at like $100,000 a year, they need $2 million to finish the study of those two dams. We've heard they're getting full funding this year. So now that study could be completed within 2 years. The St. Falls Laboratory just got funded by LCCMR for $427,000 to look at what would happen to the sediment behind Dam 1 if you took that dam out. And they're also going to do a big piece of it as a storybook website piece, educating people about what dam removal could mean. So I'm on that study team. Is going to kick off here in the next month or so. And then Friends of the Mississippi River has put an LCCMR grant to do a feasibility study for dam removal and what that would look like. And they have ranked very high for $923,000 for next year. So they're in line for that. I should also mention that Okadiape, Owamni Okadiape, which means Friends of the Falls in Dakota, they're going to receive $2.3 million to redo the upper lock into a more of a natural site around the falls. So
Are they going to do interpretation, I hope?
oh yeah, from a different perspective than,
Okay, good.
than the Corps of Engineers has done, most likely. So, so from St. Anthony Falls to the confluence of the Minnesota River, the river in the heart of the Twin Cities is going to change phenomenally. We have a chance to bring back stories in a river that we've never seen. But the importance I bring it up now is that the conversations that inform the outcome are starting now. And there's these 3 big studies that are just going to push it off. And a National Parks Conservation Association has finished a draft of an economic recreation study that looks at what would economic and recreation potential be of such a restored opportunity. It's not released yet for the public, but it's getting closer. So what it shows is after looking at 7 cities around the United States, the economic returns, the recreation returns, the engagements with the rivers are phenomenal. So exciting stuff for the metro area river.
Yep. I do have one comment for you. Up in my area, the Mississippi River comes out of Cass Lake and goes down the river. And that dam that was there, it used to be called Knutson Dam, is now gone. And now there's a rock dam. And a lot of us, I've floated down the river. All my children have floated down the river. And one of the things that they stated recently was that because the dam is missing, it's gone now, the river isn't so swift. What used to be like an hour float for 3 miles down is now 5-hour float. They were stunned. They were like,
At certain times of the year, at certain times of the year, right? At the times of the year that you can be on the river, yes.
It would be during the summertime, yes.
Yeah.
And they said it was 5-hour float and it was miserable.
And can you imagine the mosquitoes?
Well,
Yeah,
I'll tell you
the
that
flies were biting and they were hungry and pushed all the way down. Get out and walk. A barrage of floaters down. You know, it's a different experience now.
So
We won't
the
put that on the
Mississippi,
drive my posts.
the Mississippi River from the first half of what we call the gorge between St. Anthony and the confluence was such a phenomenal rapids that the most powerful steamboats couldn't get up it. And it was too rocky. And then below it, it was down to Fort Snelling, the confluence area. It was a really swift river. It was over a dozen islands versus 1 island. So, and go back to the revolution, pre-revolution times here, Jonathan Carver, an English colonist, came to St. Anthony Falls in 1766. And he said there are all kinds of eagles' nests at St. Anthony Falls. And the reason for all the eagles' nests were all the fish trying to migrate above it.
Right.
So imagine that restoring that kind of context would be amazing. So again, that's a Twin Cities area update. The commissioners from other sections of the river, and thanks for that update on the Knutson Dam. I'm not going to tell anybody about that.
Yeah. It's closed now for the season because of the major storm that went through on June 21st. Bemidji, the city of Bemidji was devastated. We got millions of trees down between Bemidji, Chippewa National Forest.
9
over
million.
to
Was
Grand
it
Rapids.
9 million trees? down
9
there?
million trees. It's,
Wow.
if you drive up there, it's horrific. The day after was just, I couldn't believe how many trees are down.
Amazing.
So did the Forest History Center get hit?
I don't think so.
No, it was a different.
It was up at Bemidji more than Grand Rapids.
Yeah, it didn't get that far, I don't believe. But yeah, it was horrible. Have you been up there?
I have.
Oh, anybody wants to go take a look, the city is never going to be the same. It'll take probably 75, 80 years for the trees to grow back.
Then you gotta worry about.
Right now, we're worried about forest fires where I live, yeah.
I'm sure.
And of course, the insurance companies are just, I'm dealing with it and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I filed complaints because, this is a horrible time for people in a disaster area. And if the insurance company, you pay this insurance, you really should be taken care of. So yes, it's a devastation that's happened.
Sorry to hear that, Sally.
Oh, I know.
Are things reopening quite a bit? I know.
Oh,
things
yeah,
are even
everything
closed
pretty
and
much
parts are
reopened,
closed.
but that whole 4 or 5 days afterward, I didn't have electricity for 5 days. everything went bad. It was pretty wild. You couldn't get water, you couldn't get ice. It was sad. Yeah.
It doesn't always take a tornado, does it? Right?
No.
It's-
You know,
yeah.
the straight line winds up there are.
They said
are way
hurricane
different.
strength winds went through 106 to
Yeah.
120 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Yes. Forest is just, the Chippewa National Forest suffered greatly. Yeah,
It's
so
like
we're doing cleanup
1998. It's like the return of the 1998, only in a different area.
now. Mm.
Mm.
Yep.
Any other commissioner or agency updates that you want to share?
There was, well, people.
I am not seeing any. It's your chance.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Hi, this is Grant.
For other business.
Just a couple of quick ones. You touched on one that I don't have to get into with DNR and the disposition study. We did have a comment letter on that, as you mentioned. I wanted to note I am planning to attend MRCTI meeting, so I'll see you there. The Upper Mississippi River Basin Association had their quarterly meeting in La Crosse a few weeks ago. I sit as Minnesota's representative on that board, and discussed a few different issues. Discussed invasive carp management and looking how different states in the upper basin, which upper basin being Minnesota to Missouri, we're handling that. Looking at sort of comparing notes and looking at opportunities for potential cooperation or sharing information at least that UMRBA might have some value in contributing towards. We discussed some work going on at the University of Minnesota with flood risk modeling and resilience capacity, and then also had some conversations around an effort that America's Watershed Initiative and the Nature Conservancy have been working on for the past couple of years. I think we've talked about it in this group. They're working sort of on a Mississippi River watershed partnership, sort of the full Mississippi watershed, 2/3 of the country roughly, and sort of further exploring what that might look like. So had an update and a conversation from that. So just a few notes from that. If anyone's interested in talking more about any of those, I'd be happy to chat with you. One other note for those of you who work with our state parks and trails, we have a new state parks and trails regional manager in most of the Mississippi River watershed in the state, Laurel Quill, who was previously with our parks and trails in the Southeast. It's a great addition. So in case you worked with previous regional manager Kelly Bruns, which I know you all did, at least in her capacity on this group, we have a new face and person in that seat. That's all I had, unless Amanda had anything else to add.
So one note for what you're talking about, Grant. MRPC will be having a presentation at the national meeting in Baton Rouge from AWI. So we're trying on the national level and the 10-state level to, I don't know that forging a partnership is really where we're trying to go, but at least be more aware of our symbiotic work as much as we can. So we'll be doing that. That is something else that's happening in that day, those couple of days.
That's great.
Okay, man, we flipped through the agenda pretty good. What?
Good job, Mr.
Is there anybody else on there?
You say I don't see anybody with their hand up, and if I can't see your hand, you don't count.
Oh,
Just kidding.
oh, man.
So,
Crystal, I mean,
so if I may just for a minute, I want to, while you're all on, ask you to save the date for our next meeting. And if you can, make it in person. We will be, details are coming. They're being worked out. But we would like to take some time before the meeting and during the meeting to recognize Chris and the years she's spent with us and the invaluable job she's done with us. So if you can do that now and make a mark on your calendar.
November 20th, right?
November 20th. We'll get that information to you fairly soon. We're close to getting the details worked out.
Well, just so you know, Diane mentioned that this might be coming, and I told her that I was wondering if there would be puppies.
No cats though, right?
No, no cats. Can there be puppies, baby goats, you know?
Well, we hadn't picked a theme, had we yet? So maybe that's what we'll do.
So that would be an awesome event. I hope everybody can make it in person for that.
And we're going to try to bring back some notable former members of this group. So just so you know.
Gonna extend the agenda. Okay. Thanks for adding that and getting that out there. And thanks for Diane for getting that as
Carol.
well.
Hey, Carol. Been working on
Carol.
this too.
Okay.
And Andrew and Megan.
Well, thank you all for staying with us, and I look forward to seeing some of you in Baton Rouge or somewhere in between. Thanks.
David.
Can I just add one more
Yeah.
thing? I think we shouldn't let the meeting conclude without, I don't even know how to put this, but honoring and saying hello to our friend Senator John Hoffman, who is not here. He was sitting right there last time, and he was talking in
Days
my
later.
ear, and he was distracting me. And he blurted out, and this is so John Hoffman, he just blurted out in the middle of the meeting, "I'm learning so much sitting next to Kelleher." And it's like, well, yeah, you're distracting me, Senator Hoffman. But I don't know if a motion or just a note or something that we miss him and we wish him the best in a speedy recovery, and hope to see him back again soon
Right.
in one of these chairs,
Yep.
distracting me.
This is
Well,
that
it's
side, this is that side of the room, I think.
Because then he pointed out how Senator Housley called him out for distracting someone on the Senate floor while she was trying to get a bill passed.
I don't know how, I think you all know that we did post our well wishes on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah,
something
thanks,
that we
David,
tried
for-
to do, but I think you're right.
Yeah, we get it back.
Senator Hoffman did actually speak virtually at a NCSL, a national state council of state
Conference of state
legislators. I think I know that. I only know the acronyms.
In Boston.
But he did, in Boston was being held, but he spoke virtually at the beginning part of the meeting, and the other, the other Speaker Emeritus or Hortman was honored then too, as well. Then
I
too.
will just add, we have continued to keep the emails going to him, so you never know, he may be watching your live stream. So, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely missed.
Okay. Great way to end. Thank you all.
So adjourn.
Adjourned. We are adjourned.
Thank
Over the
you all.
gavel and everything. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Best wishes, John.